All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Tech Exchange Seminar Series. As many of you are aware, the Tech Exchange Seminar Series is IAD's program to try to get faculty working in AI and AI adjacent areas from across the university community to come together to share their research and potential opportunities that they might have for collaboration with other faculty members across UB. And so we have this half an hour slots where faculty share their research, and we've had some good success stories with collaborations being stuck between faculty that suddenly realized that here was a faculty member that they could collaborate with on something interesting. So with complementary capabilities. Occasionally, we also sort of reach out to folks from outside UB to, and I guess Jason is sort of straddles that. So today's speaker, and today we only have one speaker instead of the typical two, is Jason Krebs from was previously with Cisco, or is still with Cisco?
Still with Cisco.
Okay, still with Cisco, and he also has a UB connection. But I'll let him talk to you about his long history with Cisco and their efforts in AI, and hopefully this will prove to be useful, and there could be conversations that get started after this talk. So go ahead, Jason, and I'll let you introduce yourself in greater detail.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the National AI Institute at UB for having me. Just to go over my CV and my LinkedIn. So work-wise, I started at Ingram Micro in Buffalo, worked there about 3.5 years. I was in sales and marketing. And then in '98, I transitioned down to Cisco. And I started off in inside sales, worked in inside sales for maybe about 4 years. And then I transitioned to operations analyst. I even led the team for a year, but I've been doing that ever since. School-wise, just to give you guys some background, started at Canisius University, graduated in '92, quickly transitioned to UB Sills graduate school, and graduated in '97, moved down to North Carolina, got an MBA at Elon University, and then a couple years ago, I wanted to go back for my PhD. So applied to UB, got in, and I've been in the PhD program for information science for the last few years. So this slide is the history of the logos from Cisco. And you can see a couple things. First of all, our company started around 1984, 85, and in the top left, the Golden Gate Bridge is our logo. We kind of have that all over campus down in RTP, and we've kept that up until the present. And we did a transition in 2006 to just Cisco, so we dropped the systems. By dropping this, the signaled more than a systems hardware company, not just routers and switches. It aligned with the 2006 ad campaign, The Human Network, making it more of a household brand, and everything is connected. By the way, Cisco is taken from the last part of San Francisco because it is a Bay Area company. So I have 3 trivia questions in the PowerPoint Prezzo. So the first one is, what university is tied to the birth of Cisco? Does anybody in the room know? Or take a guess? It was Stanford. You will be the owner of a Cisco pin at the end of the Prezzo, but you are correct. So Stanford developed an early campus infrastructure where departments could communicate with computer networks. Cisco was founded in December of '84 by Leonard Bosack and Sandra Lerner, both of whom had worked at Stanford, Bosack in computer systems and Lerner in computer facilities. Unable to send emails between computers, they invented a way to communicate networks with an invention called a router. A router connects networks, and it could be considered a traffic cop. It does 3 things, basically. It stops traffic, starts traffic, and gives directions. A router keeps local packets local so it doesn't clog the internet. To connect Stanford University's network, they were literally pulling wire through manholes and sewer pipe. They built the devices themselves. Stanford didn't want to license the technology to other universities. So the Cisco headquarters became their house. One bedroom was a lab, another bedroom was office space, and build and test was in the living room. In terms of what to charge for their technology, Len Bosak replied, "We guessed." Stanford's Office of Technology Licensing entered into a license agreement with Cisco via Bosak and Lerner in 86-87 for the software and hardware developed at Stanford. The university campus was 16 square miles and consisted of 5,000 computers in own networks and separate buildings. By the late 1980s, Cisco became one of the first companies to develop products using the newly introduced Ethernet technology. So this is a picture of our first CEO, John Morgridge. He was CEO from 1988 to 1994. In 88, Cisco was still very much a startup, early stage company in the internetworking routers business, basically linking LANs. Expansion of Cisco's global footprint, increased employee headcount, and positioning as a major vendor in the networking space all occurred on Morgridge's watch. Cisco's IPO in 1990 was under Morgridge, basically going from a private company to a public. For an IPO, John said you need a few things. You need revenue, customers, profits, and a vision, and Cisco had all these. During his 6 years of leadership from 88 to 94, Morgridge grew the company from $5 million US to US 1.2 billion in annual sales and built Cisco into a global industry leader in internetworking. So let me just tell a story first before we play this video, and I do have 3 videos in this PowerPoint prezzo. This is a picture of Don Valentine. He's a venture capitalist. They were turned down, Cisco was, by 70 to 80 venture capitalists. So Cisco was initially financing themselves by credit cards. Don Valentine at Sequoia Capital was a VC that infused financing into Cisco. His role was to find and recruit management, help create a management process. The video will tell about an internet opportunity, solving a problem, the connection of computers, and the market was waiting for a solution. Don Valentine initially showed the balance sheet to another partner, and they said, "This must be the balance sheet of a bank." During this time, there were many innovative acquisitions under Morgridge. He led Cisco through a series of acquisitions that helped the company strengthen its product portfolio and extend its reach to networking industry. Some of the key acquisitions included Sarant Corporation and Stratacom. And now we'll hear from John Morgridge and Don Valentine.
Hello? We can't hear the video, like the people on Zoom.
And
We can hear it now.
so I actually, when I interviewed with Don, I interviewed because I knew this was a market that was going to happen.
I want to ask you in a minute why you think that was, why others weren't seeing it and capitalizing on it. But Don, I'd like to get your take on it's. John has positioned it more as the rise of the need to interconnect this wayward group of networks that existed out there. Can you talk about your vision for this?
Well, taking a minor step backward, the Apple computer experience helped us understand that while there was a huge market for standalone individual people to use a computer like that, that it would never become part of the major solution in data processing until it became or was somehow or other hooked into a network. So we had financed a company with a spectacular MIT graduate by the name of Bob Metcalfe, who is considered the father of the Ethernet. And he was sort of my tutor on networking and explained how the world would work from his vision to include Apple, and the world was not going to be just IBM or any of the seven dwarfs. The personal computers had to be part of the network because that's where all the people would be. So we had the great experience with Bob Metcalfe and his pioneering of the Ethernet, which from my point of view was the network preliminary to the implications that people exploited when they found out about TCP/IP. And the credit there, from our point of view, goes to an evolvingly named entity, part of the government. At one point it was DARPA, and at one point it was ARPA, and the major thrust and funding came from that agency, as near as we knew. And once we began, with Bob Metcalfe's help, to understand the nature of networking at the lowest level, networking was easy at the IBM level, but not so easy at the personal computer level. So ARPA is the one that organized this grand plan of having all computer systems linked under some kind of a federal government guidance in case of emergency. And eventually, you had to get all of the individuals who were beginning to populate North America anyway, with an ability to be alert to what was happening and what the instructions were. And that would all come from the IP part of TCP/IP. We had investments we made subsequent to Bob Metcalfe that were satellite-based communication systems that began to also...
Okay, we'll move to the next slide here. So John Chambers followed Morgridge as CEO in January of '95. John's background was IBM and Wang Laboratories, and it was basically sales focused. John has his MBA and his law degree, and I believe he went to West Virginia and Indiana University. During this time with John as CEO, Cisco is known for growth. In our history, we've had over 200 acquisitions, and most of those occurred on John's watch. So in this video, and this is the second of three, John's going to talk a little bit. Cisco is very good in terms of acquisitions, and that'll be a theme throughout the PowerPoint, and also how he aligns with other companies strategically. But he'll be talking about what he calls the spin-in.
We rewrote the textbooks in our industry when we said we're going to do innovation by doing it ourselves, which is what every high-tech company did. But we're also going to do it by acquisitions, and we're going to also do it by strategic partnerships. In fact, strategic partnerships may be the most important play for this next decade of anything relation-wise, but not the strategic partnerships of the past. On areas where we felt we had to move very rapidly, and there was not an ideal target to acquire, but yet I couldn't do it under a traditional approach, we invented the concept of spin-ins, which is where we took anywhere from 2 to perhaps as many as 20 of our best thinkers in the company that were entrepreneurial, basically at heart startup type mentality. We took them outside the company, changed their compensation, lower salary, but huge opportunity if you're successful. We predetermined what the price for the spin-in would be based upon revenues and profits and when it would have to occur by, and then we spun them back in. All 4, we were just completing our 4th one with in the area of applications, have been billion-dollar markets for us per year within 3 years. Wow. I mean, people just, and all 3 of the 4, and we think we got on the 4th one, became the #1 player within that same time period in the whole industry. So it's a very creative approach. Now the problem is you have a person sitting here and the person across the hall, this person might make $1 million, the person across the hall makes $120,000. There are very few companies that would accept that. But what we did, we said it's all of our benefits to move in these areas quickly, which we will all benefit from in terms of the company's growth. And then in theory, people could have a chance to do these themselves in terms of direction. And then you remind them what happens if we hadn't moved here, where a new competitor, often a startup competitor or several, would take the market share from us. It would be very difficult to do that in most companies, and it's almost impossible to do unless the CEO, she or he, gets behind it and drives it through. But we have no fear. We'll try a lot of different things, and I'll make no apologies. You know, the only apology I'll make is I didn't move fast enough, or I should have put process behind it in terms of the direction. So very few other companies try this. Now, interesting enough, once we did the spin-ins, guess what we could do? We started to learn how to do internal startups without it being a spin-in. And so you learn each iteration of what works and doesn't work.
So in this 15-year period, there were many highlights. Cisco has positioned itself as the backbone of the internet, powering ISPs, .coms, and enterprise. At its peak in March 2000, Cisco briefly became the world's most valuable company with a market cap of $550 billion. They shifted focus towards IP convergence, integrating data, voice, and video. By the mid-2000s, diversification into consumer, like Linksys, Video, Scientific Atlanta, and then collaboration like telepresence. In 2005, we acquired Scientific Atlanta for $6.9 billion, expanding into set-top boxes and video distribution, a major step in the digital TV and video market. And I'll talk about Scientific Atlanta a little bit later. In 2008, we launched the Cisco Nexus data center switches, which are still around today, entering the next generation data center and cloud networking market. 2010, Cisco partnered with companies like EMC and VMware to push into cloud computing and virtualization. Revenue crossed $40 billion, cementing its role as the backbone of the internet and a major enterprise IT provider. So this is trivia question number 2. If you could, and you can just mention 1 or 2, articulate some of the micro or macro challenges Cisco systems faced in the time frame of 1995 to 2010. Security would be considered one for sure.
Y2K.
Y2K, yes. Any others? So just a few that I jotted down were the .com bubble, 9/11, Y2K, the Great Recession of 2008. And we also had some micro challenges with the flip camera and Scientific Atlanta. John Chambers would say, we have to, if we acquire something, acquire a company or develop a technology, we want to be number 1 or number 2 in the market. And if we're not, we'll exit the market. So flip actually did fail. And why did it fail? The smartphone and multifunction devices emerged. And then Scientific Atlanta was not a huge success because there was a strategic shift, misalignment with streaming software and cloud. It was a changing market dynamics with the streaming services. Scientific Atlanta was the box that sat on top of your television. So there was another CEO transition in 2015. John Chambers served about 20 years, and he was the leader from the mid-1990s. He stepped down as CEO in July of 2015. He was succeeded by Chuck Robbins, who's been with Cisco for many years, primarily in sales roles. Robbins' mandate was to accelerate Cisco's evolution into new areas like cloud, software security, and the Internet of Things. Chuck Robbins is originally, I believe, from Georgia, and then he moved up to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and went to the University of North Carolina and has a mathematics degree. One of the main things that Chuck Robbins focused on was annual recurring revenue, or ARR. So what is it? From hardware to software, recurring revenue, over this period, Cisco has increasingly pushed towards software services subscription models, cloud-based offerings, and security, moving somewhat away from being purely a hardware networking vendor. This is a gradual but consistent strategic direction under Robbins. Customers don't just buy the hardware, they subscribe to the software that manages, secures, and monitors it. When Cisco systems say they are getting recurring revenue from software subscriptions, it means that instead of selling software as a one-time purchase, like a perpetual license, they are charging customers on an ongoing basis, usually monthly, annually, or over multi-year contracts, for the right to use the software and receive updates, support, and cloud-based features. It's predictable recurring revenue. Subscription models give Cisco steady, predictable cash flow since customers pay every month or every year. This is different from hardware refresh cycles, which are lumpy and depend on customer upgrades. Some examples of Cisco software subscriptions: Cisco WebEx, video meetings, messaging, calling; Cisco Secure, like firewalls, endpoint security, threat detection. Many now are subscription-based. Meraki, cloud managed networking, requires an active license subscription, and DNA software for Catalyst switches or routers, network automation, and analytics. If you fast forward to the 2020s, well over 75% of Cisco's software revenue was subscription-based, according to their earnings reports. Cisco now highlights annual recurring revenue as a key metric, showing the importance of software subscriptions to its long-term business model. So this is the last trivia question. Who are some strategic companies Cisco has recently partnered with in the field of AI? If anybody wants. OpenAI. Yeah. NVIDIA. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so some of the partnerships that we have: NVIDIA, Mistral AI, AI Infrastructure Partnership, Humane, and G42 out of the United Arab Emirates. This slide shows an example of Cisco's AI partnerships: AI-ready infrastructure with NVIDIA on our data center Nexus 9300s, and an AI software stack with NVIDIA and VAST. Cisco AI in the news. This is a chip designed to connect AI data centers called the P200 chip. The purpose is to connect multiple AI DCs together and act as one massive computer. I believe we have earnings announcements set for tomorrow, Wednesday. What you'll find now, if you go into the business news, is Cisco, almost on a weekly basis, is giving news on AI, who they're partnering with, what products are coming out, what they're doing in the market. So I'll set the stage quickly for this video. This video shows the partnership between CEO Chuck Robbins of Cisco and NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang as they sit down with Jim Cramer.
We also got a chance to check in with some of NVIDIA's key partners, companies that can help bring out the value of their high-end chips. For example, Cisco announced a new AI factory architecture. They're developing something with NVIDIA to help enterprise customers deploy, manage, and secure their AI infrastructure. Yesterday, I got a chance to speak with Jensen Huang. He's the founder, president, and CEO of NVIDIA, along with Chuck Robbins, the chair and CEO of Cisco, about this new announcement and what it means for AI security. Take a look. Well, here's a treat. We have Jensen Huang and from NVIDIA, of course, and Chuck Robbins from Cisco, emblematic of the partnerships that we saw. These are exploding, meaningful partnerships. Jensen, what's it like to partner with Chuck to do some of these things? I need to know how these things work.
Well, you can't partner with a nicer guy, and you can't partner with a company with more might and more domain expertise. You know, there are two things that we're working on together, and both of them are completely revolutionary. The first one is, as you know, we've been inventing AI for the clouds, but we want to bring AI to the world's enterprise. And AI reinvented the entire computing stack, from compute, networking, storage, the operating system, and the way you develop the applications on top. And yet today's IT infrastructure, enterprise IT infrastructure, is basically the same as it's been for a long time. And so Chuck and I are going to go and work on re-racking that entire infrastructure. And there's a few $1 billion worth, a few $1 trillion, dollars worth of infrastructure built around the world, and we got to go reset that. That's the first thing. The second thing we're working on is, and this is an area that Cisco and Chuck's been in for a long time, and it's new for us, is telecommunications. As you know, telecommunications is also built on data centers. And that data center is about to get reinvented with 6G and AI. And so the two of us are working on a whole new stack for that.
Any one of these would be $1 trillion opportunity. I know that since you bought Splunk, you're even better at these things. So what's it like to work with Jensen and the NVIDIA team, and how is it additive to Cisco? And by the way, to Cisco shareholders?
Well, you can't find a nicer person to partner with than Jensen. It's been fascinating. So Jensen called me probably 14 months ago, and I said, "You're the king of the world. Why are you calling me?" And we sat down and started talking about the enterprise opportunity then, and we talked about the fact that our technology stacks are super complementary. So we have,
even though he does have a bit of a competition, some of your products.
Yeah, but we talked about it early on, and I said, if our teams are going to do it, we're going to position our networking gear, and he's like, fine, do it. That's fine.
You're
with
a
me.
lover, not a fighter.
Well, he is.
We're both lovers. We're both lovers.
And
so now we're partnering on networking.
Yeah.
NVIDIA.
So the last announcement we made.
Exactly.
He validated our networking within their validated architecture. I think we're the only ones you validated.
Yeah.
And then we agreed if a customer wanted it, we'll build an Ethernet switch based on his silicon. So we want to give the customers what they want.
People at home they're looking for business and consumer, they may not understand this is actually far bigger than consumer. Right? I know it hurts to say that because we have consumers watching, but it's true.
It's much bigger. And when you think about the security implications of this transition that Jensen was talking about, they're going to be huge. And when you get into just the initial AI inference applications are one thing where you're going to need all this new modern infrastructure. But the second phase is this agentic AI that we talk about, and the need to reconstruct the underlying internet logic to actually enable agents to communicate with each other in a secure way and actually achieve the vision that has been laid out for agentic AI. That it's a complete restructuring.
Is the system that we have now ready for agentic AI, or do we have to throw the system out, put an all new system in?
Well, as you know, the computers that people run AI on are the ones that we're sitting in front of. That's what it looks like. And those systems are in none of the world's companies.
Well, then we have to replace the whole world in this trillion. I mean, that's a $2, $3, $4 trillion opportunity.
No question about that.
Yeah,
you agree too?
It's a giant journey, and we got to start it. And so that's why I called Chuck. You know, nobody knows enterprise computing better than Chuck. And so you know, we need to go and re-rack the whole world's companies.
I love that term. It's very, it's persuasive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well, you walk in these data centers, what it is, it's just racks and racks of technology.
Yep.
And I think we believed a year ago that the enterprise opportunity was going to dwarf what we've done in the cloud space. And I've heard you say the same thing recently. So we think this opportunity is even bigger.
Put your business roundtable hat on. How do we help as a country? I asked Jensen this earlier. The country has to get behind you. The administration has to get behind you. This is also a competitive world. How are we doing?
Oh, I think we're winning right now, for sure. I mean, look at this guy and what we're doing in this space. And then the ecosystem that you see all around us here that's been built up around the AI factory notion. And clearly we're winning. And I would say, based on the conversations I've had with the administration, I know you've had a lot, they want to protect that lead, and they want us to win. And I believe that their policies that they're going to implement will ensure that happens.
But if you're going to put a 25% tariff on hardware, it could end up being on hardware, that is an impediment to growth.
Well, we'll see where they land. I think that you were talking about tariffs earlier today. I think there's going to be a lot of logic behind where they end up. I think that the reality of their thinking around reciprocal tariffs and some countries that perhaps are treating us not as fairly as they should, I think that's an area that they should certainly go after. But I think they also want to make sure that whatever they do, that they maintain this lead that we have and make sure that we win the AI race.
Well, you are both leaders of American tech, of course, international. You use international business. Are we? Is American tech, is the conversation as important as, do people get it? Do you think the average American gets how important what we're discussing is to their lives?
Well, there are two ways to answer that. Well, first of all, you were talking about international, Jim. I think that in no initiative and no foundational technology that I've ever known since the internet has the world and the leaders realized the importance of artificial intelligence to them. And the reason for that is because no country wants to outsource and let somebody else advance their intelligence. And so this is really, really important to every country, and that's why the conversation is so relevant. With respect to people across the country, I do think that artificial intelligence as a technology is in the forefront of almost every conversation. And so everybody knows about the technology and why it's important, I think. It's impossible for them to realize the social and the economic and the industrial implications of artificial intelligence.
But at the same
Here, we're mostly talking about the industrial implications.
Right, but at the same time, the notion of GDP, the Federal Reserve, where the economy, this transcends all of that. That's just not as important as we used to think.
Well, 5 years ago, we thought 5G was super important, and this dwarfs the whole discussion around 5G. Every time I went to Washington, we were talking about 5G and Open RAN and all these things, and they were all worried about it. No one talks about it anymore. It's all about
this is
AI.
unbelievably positive. We have to put a value judgment on it. Don't we have to decide to either believe or just think that the world is flat?
Everybody is so excited about it because we all see the wonderful potential of it. You know, whether it's for science or healthcare or just economic productivity. I mean, we all see the insane opportunity ahead of us. You know, of course, there's also the wonderment of it. And
right. Right. You know that's the word. Yeah. Because that requires our imagination. Yeah. And we got to get our heads bigger. We have to, somehow, you guys, you're the leaders. You have to explain how important this is to our country and the world, because it is not, we're trapped by the four walls of our current intelligence.
Yeah. Well, if you think about one of the most powerful things of this partnership is we come together and we actually simplify enterprises' ability to deploy AI applications. That's when you start unlocking the benefits in healthcare. So the enterprise customers need help understanding, how do I do this simply and secure, and how can I do this in a way that I feel good about it and I trust it and it's secure and I'm not at risk with my employees or customers' data. And that's what we're going to do together. And I think that's when you're going to see this healthcare, the thing you talk about all the time with science and healthcare and revolutionizing cures for diseases, as an example. We need to go help them build the infrastructure that's going to allow them to do that.
To do that, we need enterprise IT.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's why enterprise IT is such a major
that
trust.
benefits the human in the United States every day.
Well, I want people to understand that, and both of you are great communicators. Chuck Robbins, who is the CEO of Cisco, $400 billion in 2000, but now much bigger in terms of what you can become. Much bigger.
Much.
And of course, Jen Swan, NVIDIA CEO. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being the leaders that you are.
So Chuck Robbins would say you won't have AI without the network. And just to let you guys know, I'm more of a Cisco historian than an AI expert, but I do have some valuable information on Cisco AI and the focus. It's multifaceted, and I'll go over all these aspects. 1 is products, 2 is enablement, 3 is applications, 4 is infrastructure readiness, and the 5th is governance. They kind of mentioned how AI can help every day and every person. So how can AI empower you? It automates repetitive and time-consuming tasks, freeing your time for high-value strategic work, making tasks easier and more impactful. Foster innovation. AI-powered creative processes allow you to engage in innovative and creative work streams, transforming the way you work. Drive continuous learning and career growth. Leverage AI to efficiently upskill and develop future-ready capabilities. I'm one of the team leads for training at Cisco, and I can tell you the majority of our training focus is on AI. Belts, AI belts, boot camps, you name it. It's required training that all Cisco employees must take. AI is now embedded across most platforms, including things like management, security, and monitoring. This includes AI-powered features such as assistance, predictive AI, automations, and advanced observability tools that improve network management, security threat detection, and customer digital experience monitoring. This is our FY26 product focus. We have AI-ready data centers, future-proofed workplaces, and digital resilience. You can see in the top left, there's a term hyperscaler. And a hyperscaler is a company that operates extremely large-scale cloud data centers and can rapidly scale compute, storage, and networking resources on demand. These companies build custom infrastructure like servers, networks, AI accelerator software to support millions of users and massive workloads, such as AI training, streaming, search, and cloud applications. They do this in a few ways. First, AI-ready infrastructure, networking, data center compute, Cisco emphasizing infrastructure that supports AI workloads, partnering to deliver AI-ready data centers with NVIDIA and Microsoft. The second is security and AI-driven ops, emphasize agentic AI. AI acts autonomously or semi-autonomously for IT operations, threat detection, observability. AI security report, AI risk vectors. And the third is collaboration and customer experience with AI agents. An example would be WebEx, includes AI-powered customer experience tools, AI agents that automate workflows and summarize calls. So this is Cisco in the news. This is fairly recent, October 13th, 2025. And it's a news article about AI and WebEx. And WebEx has instituted a lot of AI features. For example, it can summarize a WebEx meeting in a second and give it to the person that proposed the meeting. Enablement empowering customers to use AI. Cisco provides flexible building blocks for customers to build AI compute clusters, secure AI workloads with security wrappers, and leverage high-speed networking for AI training and inference. This empowers customers to prototype, iterate, and deploy AI solutions on-premises or in hybrid environments. AI use cases and applications. AI applications can be found in sales, operations, and TAC, the Technical Assistance Center. What my role is at Cisco is I'm an operations analyst. I handle a couple customers, usually between one large one to 5 smaller ones. And as a customer, something, for example, breaks in their network or they encounter a bug, they'll open up a ticket with our Technical Assistance Center. So my job or my deliverable is to make sure that those tickets are handled quickly, efficiently. If I need to escalate to a certain group, I do that. I do ad hoc reports, SR review calls, and then quarterly business reviews. And we're starting to see AI. Actually, we've been seeing AI in our work over the last year or so. Just note, a use case explains how a user interacts with a system to accomplish a task. A use case defines a goal, the actor, which is the customer, and the interaction. An example will be on the next slide. In IT projects, a use case can help define requirements, communication, test functionality, and prioritize development. So at Cisco, in our TAC, our Technical Assistance Center, we have a bot called Sherlock and another one called John Watson. Sherlock is a humanoid, also known as a digital TAC engineer. It can do almost everything a TAC engineer can do. Its primary job is to solve customer issues, originally designed for high volume, high impact issues, can also handle low volume, low impact issues. Sherlock is non-generative AI, takes cases it knows the answers for. Expert TAC engineers watch over Sherlock to ensure it's providing the correct answer. An example would be a customer opens a TAC case, the system creates a response and presents to Overwatcher for approval, and approved response goes out. Sherlock can actually send out an RMA to a customer, a return material authorization. So if a part breaks, Sherlock can take care of it entirely from beginning to end. Infrastructure and readiness. Cisco AI infrastructure and products. Here's an example of UCS servers that are used in data centers. So Cisco emphasizes scalable AI-ready infrastructure, including GPU resources, graphical processing unit, high-performance computing, and network scalability to support AI workloads securely and efficiently. Cisco's UCS X series servers are positioned to support AI applications with powerful CPUs, GPUs, and large memory storage configurations. Cisco also created responsible AI and governance framework that includes guidance and oversight, controls, incident management, industry leadership, and external engagement. AI, so far has been kind of like hit the gas, hit the brake, hit the gas, hit the brake. So Cisco found it very positive to create a responsible AI and governance. The landscape is AI is becoming a valuable tool in many aspects of our work and daily life, opening new opportunities for everyone. Our aspiration is to accelerate AI adoption so teams can develop new skills, stay ahead of industry trends, and create more meaningful and positive experiences. Beyond technology, growth, creativity, empowerment, the impact is AI helps manage change, lighten workloads, and grow as the organization evolves. AI Readiness Index and Strategy Assessment. 6 pillars that were looked at for Cisco, not only internally, but for our customers. Strategy, infrastructure, data governance, talent, and culture. Cisco encourages customers to evaluate their AI readiness and invest in talent development, data quality, and governance to maximize AI benefits. And the future vision. Cisco believes that there will be continued product growth for AI. They are investing not only in this technology, but training for their employees. Cisco has tasked us to automate using AI, leverage power of AI to transform how we work, serve customers, and innovate. First, integrate AI-driven automation into workflows, deliver faster value to customers. Second is empower informed decision-making with AI-driven insights, making each customer interaction more personalized and impactful. And the third is to harness AI to drive innovation and solution adoption and deliver forward-thinking solutions. And with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions.
So I guess from this audience's perspective, are there opportunities for researchers at the universities to engage with Cisco, or and also for students here? What sort of opportunities exist?
Absolutely. I know Cisco is growing their AI department. I've worked with engineers. There's constant training going on. There's definitely research. Cisco's actually empowering the employees too, I mentioned the training before with the different belts. Well, when you pass the last belt, Cisco tasks you with creating a project that could benefit Cisco. And it could be something like Sherlock working with the TAC. So yeah, I definitely think that there would be some opportunity for partnership.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So I have a question on the costs. So since there are many integrations going on in the existing system, and we know integrating AI is very expensive because of the GPU compute and other complications as well. So is there a good trade-off of integrating these applications in the system? Are the returns worth it? Because in the long run, if they're not, then sustainability would become a challenge. So, for example, Sherlock, integrating it, how did it affect Cisco's operation?
Well, no, that's a great question. So I would say with primarily with Sherlock and John Watson, it definitely made us more efficient. It freed up our engineers to work more complicated cases. A lot of these cases, collabs have to be opened. So it's not just one platform that's affected, there could be two or three. So if Sherlock is taking care of some of these minor issues or RMAs, it frees the engineers to work on the more difficult cases. Oh, sure.
So obviously the goal would be, like you said, to affect not just one use case, but many others. So as a fresher or a person who's looking to build such applications, what would your advice be? How do, what grounds should we keep in mind while trying to build a system with AI in it, so that it actually makes an impact and does not just increase the cost and burden of the application?
Well, I think for Cisco, it would have to be, there has to be some reward at the end in terms of more efficiency, cost savings. That's why they're creating so many training opportunities for the employees. So what I would suggest is learn as much about AI as possible. It's not going away. It's not slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating. And we're just at the beginning of this. We're not towards the end. This isn't the end of the refresh cycle. This is the beginning.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, ethics means a lot of things. So our little institute here, AI for good, right?
Yeah.
Helping kids with learning disabilities. And then at another level, we deal with AI and students using it for their assignments and things along those lines. And you talked about some of the training and so on, and like how to be effective, but at the same time, without cheating. Could you comment on just the tack you've taken on the larger and the smaller?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I would say, I know what you're saying with, like, for example, a student using ChatGPT to do an assignment, right? I think my wife is a teacher in North Carolina, and in the beginning, it almost seemed like it was like, hey, students, you cannot use ChatGPT. They've almost adopted it because it's going to happen, right? With Cisco, what I'll say is we use it, for example, with WebEx or with TAC to like summarize a case or summarize a meeting. So we don't encounter that where there's like ethical issues. It's more for summation and to hit main points that we could quickly do, like, for example, a root cause analysis and get it out to a customer. Whereas before, it might take a little bit longer because an engineer would have to go through line by line through the case notes to figure out what the cause of the issue was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because we're, in the big picture here is, with the students, is trying to teach them how to use it effectively in a way that's fair. So yeah, use it to get your references, but double check those references, because AI is like a person. It sometimes gives you bad advice. And then, use it maybe to check your grammar, but after you've written it and, so on and so forth. And I know we've been thinking through how to create these courses, the same way we teach public speaking, the same way we teach writing, like how does one responsibly use this? And those kind of packages going out would be super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm kind of right there with you, because I feel with like ChatGPT and OpenAI, is it teaching us less to problem solve? Is it just kind of spitting out a document that we can hand into a teacher where we didn't have to research, we didn't have to look anything up, we didn't have to check references? So I do, even being a student here, I don't do my papers with ChatGPT. I try and do them on my own. I might check something with ChatGPT, but I'm not writing the paper. So, yeah.
There is, sorry. But it's funny, there is some recent research. I think there was a study where people either use like a AI, a ChatGPT, or I think one of the other conditions is they like cut and pasted from the internet, and another they wrote on their own. And then they submitted their products, and then they were all quizzed on what, they learned from this.
Yeah.
And of course, those who learned the least were the ones who used AI. Right? And so because they didn't have to process anything, as even just simply taking notes, putting your own words, you're actually, building connections and so on and so forth. So yeah, trying to figure out how to, meet all of those particular requirements, educate, and yet, so.
I know, like with high schools, obviously, for example, if you look at plagiarism, it's cut and dry. But if you use ChatGPT, a student could say, no, that was my work. And yes, there are AI checkers, but I don't know if it's 100%. And again, I'm not a high school teacher, but that's kind of what I've heard.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious about one thing. As an AI researcher, I think AI is very promising, is important in the future. But in the industry, I watch news, and a lot of AI companies, include Cisco, the stock market is hitting like a 2-year or 3-year high in the stock market. So I'm curious, is there like AI bubble going on in the industry? Because there is the most companies are not making enough revenue or money to support those data centers. As you mentioned, you together with NVIDIA are making a lot of data centers, but those are way more beyond the demand.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to answer that because I, kind of commenting on the stock market. Is there a bubble? Isn't there a bubble? I know that there's a lot of AI demand. And I know that Cisco is very diversified in their technology and platforms that, in terms of revenue, and again, we're, making an announcement tomorrow with, with the stock market and how we're going to do. I think, from past quarters, we've been doing pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see if there's a bubble or not, but it seems like there's a lot of demand out there. I mean, from the interview with Chuck and Jensen Huang, obviously there's a lot of demand, and a lot of these companies are going to have to refresh their networks. Yep.
Right. So let's thank the speaker. That was generated a lot of questions here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, next week we have our Tech Exchange series. Do you have the slide with the speakers for next session? Remember? Yeah, just go to the Tech Exchange website. So I know that one of the speakers is Maria Rodriguez, who's one of the new faculty from UB's AI and Society department. And let's see who the other. Oh, yeah. And it's Sumi. Yeah, you were there. You should have sort of piped up. So our own postdoc here at the National AI Institute, Sumi Suresh, will be talking about some of the AI for social good applications. So I hope to see you all for next week's Tech Exchange series as well. And yeah, please tell your friends to attend. Thanks.